Okay, so let's talk a little bit about state and how that plays into working with forms, right? Because forms, when you're working with forms, the form needs to be able to store the information that you are providing, right? And typically that will be in the form of some state of the component. The component needs to remember that this is your first name, and that's your last name, and that's your username. Somewhere it needs to store all that, okay? So let's take a look at that. In particular, let's look at the modulus, for instance, that we might want to capture the list of modules. Let's see. Modulus is where was that? So this is list item, and modulus we have here. All right, excellent. So this is a full-blown class, and this could maintain the state of what's underneath. Right? Like, for instance, all these module lists. Instead of being passed to us as an argument of an array of modules, we could be maintaining an array of modules right here in our state. Right? In the previous example, in Whiteboard, it was being passed to us as an argument. See that? It was being passed to us from an index, where it had the course, and then the course was being passed to us as a property. Yes? So the whiteboard is actually not maintaining the state. It is the parent who would pass a state to it, right? And as an argument, and it already has it, right? But if we want to maintain our own state, we could have our constructor here with our props, right? And super props. Okay. Here we can maintain our own state. Right, and perhaps add more modules, remove modules, maybe an updated module, right? Maintain which module is selected, things like that, right? So here's a state. The way you maintain state in a component, well, first of all, it can't be a stateless component, right? Like this one, module list item. This is a stateless component. It cannot maintain its own state. It only can work with things that are being passed to it as arguments, okay? Whereas Modulus is a full-blown class, right? It has a constructor, has a render, it has everything, right? So the state is a special variable that is bound to the current instance of the class, right? So this dot state, and anything that you put in there, right, will represent the initial state of this component. And it will remember any modifications, any updates that you make to the state. Right? It has a particular set of APIs to manipulate the state. Right? In particular, this .setState, right, allows you to modify the state. And the component the React component is designed such a way that the DOM, right, is only rendered when the state changes. If there are no changes to the state, there's no point in me rendering anything, right? I'm still in the same state. So there's a lot of going on. There's a lot of hanging on this one variable, right? If I can't convince the component that the state changes, the DOM won't change, right? Oftentimes, there's a lot of frustration. It says, why isn't the DOM re-rendering? And it says, well, because the component is not convinced that the state has changed. Right? Something has happened that it thinks the state is the same. Right? So that's what your debugging should follow. Why does it think that the state hasn't changed? And that's where your debugging should go. Okay? All right, so we might have here in the state, we could have maybe modules. Right? You could put anything you want in here. Right? And it could be an empty array at first. Right? And as you click on a plus sign, for instance, it would add new modules in here. Or you could have an initial set of modules, maybe title week 1. Oops. Week 2, and so on and so forth. Oops. There we go. So now we have the state. We can use it if it were just the way we use props. Just like, but we need to distinguish, right? Props are things that tie us to the outside world, whereas state is something that specifically specifies internal state, right? Things that are not visible from the outside, right? So just like we use the props to render the courses, we could use the state to render these modules, Let's do that, right? So same thing. We'll remove this for a second, and I think they were rendered down below here, and they're still there. Why are you still there? Did I not save? Refresh. Okay, they're gone. Good. All right. So if we go to Whiteboard, I'm going to move the module list. I'm going to move it up a little bit. I'm going to put it up here because I know we're going to play around with that a little bit. So there's our module list up here, and it's empty currently. It's empty. That's fine. We already know how to render a couple of these, right? We do a map. So let's just do the map. So we can do here. We can say this dot state. So this dot state is globally available within our component. What did I just put in there? A list of modules, right? So dot modules, right? And then map. And so what are we going to do here? We're going to use the regular. Actually, since we're going to do it just a return, right? It'll be just parentheses, right? So as we're iterating over this, we're going to get every single module and the index. We know that already, right? We're going to need that. And what are we going to return here? We're going to return module list item. We're going to have the key be equal to the index, and the title equal to the module.title. Right? And as good developers, we put everything in a single in their own line. And now we get back our week 1 and week 2 that we had earlier, right? But in this case using the state. Everybody okay? Right? So ideally, what we'd like to be able to do is modify the state. Be able to maybe push something into that array and perhaps change as we go. Right? So we would need, for instance, perhaps an input field, perhaps where we can type the title of the new module. So let's do that. Let's maybe we can have an initial li with a class of list group item, maybe active, and have here maybe modules, like if it were a title. So instead of module list, you have like a modules at the top highlighted. Underneath, there could be an input field. Let's put an input field, perhaps a second li under here. Li, class name as a list group item. And here we could have maybe an input. Let's see. Okay, there's our input right there. And right next to it, we could have a button. Right, with font awesome and icons and whatever, right? Obviously, and maybe this using form control from Bootstrap and styled nicely. I'm sorry, I can't look at it like that. I have to style it. Okay, so it takes up the entire width, and the button might be maybe a class button. Button what? Primary, maybe? All right, let's leave it like that. Right? And what we'd like to be able to do is to, as we type the input field, be able to, perhaps when we click on the button, add things to the list item. Before we go there, well, no, actually, no, let's do this first. What we need to be able to do is maintain, keep track of the state of that input field. All right, and one of the ways to maintain that is to keep track on the on change. And as we type, update the state to keep track of what is it that you just typed. Okay, so for instance, we could have here keep track of the new module title as part of this state of the component. The component needs to keep track of everything that is happening inside of it, right? Just like, oops, what did I miss here? Oh, sorry. So onChange is not pointing to anything, right? So right now, I'll just like that. Is it okay? So what we'll do here is call a function that keeps track of the input field. All right, so we'll do a function here that form changed. Right now the form is just that input field, but it could be a fairly complex form, right? So anything that changes on the form, we want to notify the form of what happened, what changed. Okay? So this is going to be a function using the new syntax form, right? And we'd like to call it. So we'll say on change, we're going to call, here we're going to call, what's it called? Form changed. This.form changed. There it is. Just to verify that this works, we're going to do a console log form changed. And we'll put it on the right-hand side and console. So as we type, notice that form change gets called, right? All right? So we know that is being called. We can also see some of the data that is being passed along. Okay, so this would be the value. Where's the value? I forget. Let me see. Where's the value? Value. Oh yeah, event. Right. Event target value. Yeah. So this is the event. This is the raw event that gets passed along. So this is event. Right. And we can look at the event target. Target is the actual input field, right? The actual DOM element of the input field, and value is the actual value on the input field. So let's take a look at that. So as we type, notice that it's being passed along, right? So we want to store that somewhere, right? Right now it's being just thrown away, right? So what we're going to update here is the state. We're keeping track of that in the new module title. So we can say a new module. We can say this dot set state. So what set state allows you to do is to manipulate the state. If the state doesn't change, the DOM is not going to change. Right? So we can change individual portions of the state. We don't have to change everything. In this particular case, we want to change just the new module title. Right? We can change in a JSON file, in a JSON object, we're going to say that the new module title is going to be equal to this event.target.value. Right? So now we're notifying the component, your state has changed. Right? And I'm keeping track of that element in the form. I'm keeping track of it in the new module title. Right? So now we won't see anything, but it's being stored over there. Or actually, we can type it somewhere. Let's put it right next to the button. Where's the button? Here's the button. Right next to the button, we can render this dot state dot new module title. Oops. We can render it. See what it is. Right now it's empty. It's an empty string. But as we type, it doesn't render. What? What is it? Oh, title. Okay. Oh, computers. There it is. So we are rendering right next to it, and we can render anywhere you want, right? And because the state has changed, then it renders the DOM. Otherwise, it would not modify anything. Okay. And it's only modifying this little piece, right? It does a comparison. Everything else stays the same. The DOM does not change. Right. All right. So excellent. We have that. What we'd like to be able to do now is that if I click on that button, I would like to add this brand new module with that particular title. Right? So we could do it an onClick. Oops. OnClick, call this dot add new module, right? Which doesn't exist. So let's create it here. So this will be what is it? Add new module. Okay. And what we'd like to be able to do is calculate the new array. So the new array will be whatever the modules was before, plus appending, right, or pushing a brand new object onto that, and then setting the state. Right. So this would be something like a constant. No, I can't change a constant. Let modules equal this dot state dot modules. Right, and then say modules. I'm going to push onto the new array a new JSON object that's going to have the title is going to be the this dot state dot new module title. Right. So now I'm going to add it to the array, and then I'm going to set the state again. So I'm going to this dot set state of the what is it modules equals modules. Okay. Right. So let's take a look at that. Right. Notice that it adds the module at the bottom. Make sense? And same thing if we're removing it. If we're removing it, we would need to splice out that module, right, and then set the state again. Right. If we don't set the state, even if we modify the array, right, it will not notify to re-render the array. Make sense? There we go. Okay.